rainy Sunday. Today's workshop is going to be based on canning and fermenting. For those of you who don't know me personally, my name is Monty Canaan. I'm an elder here at the Conroe Seventh-day Adventist Church. And this whole project is in collaboration with the right arm of our church, which is the health message. And we preach that our health message starts with the food that we eat. So thus, saying that we're going to start with the food that we eat, we should learn to not only control what we buy, and if we can't grow it, what do we do when we do grow it, and all along those lines. So this first half of this course is going to be based on preserving the food in which we put together. But before we start, I'd like to do a quick prayer. So if you don't mind, dear Heavenly Father, please let this information be a blessing to all those that hear it. Please help everybody to retain and be healthier and safer with what I'm about to teach. I beg this through Jesus' blessed and holy name. Amen. Okay, today we're going to start off with the canning, as I said before. And what I would like to start to covering first of all is why to can. That is a big, let's face it. If you grow a garden, which I'm assuming some of you do grow a garden, do you grow something that you won't eat? Would be foolish, wouldn't it? How many people have done that? I have. I've grown something, you're like, oh, wow, that's great. Oh, why did I do that? Unhappy with it. Didn't like it at all. So, preserving something that you won't eat would be useless, right? Waste of time, waste of effort. So, what we're trying to do, reason number one to preserve food is to take advantage of the bounty of your personal gardens if you do gardening. Or if you're at the grocery store or whatever, or the farmer's market and stuff, and you see that, hey, they got corn on sale and you can get 2 or 3 bushels at a really reasonable rate, well, there you go. Preserve the corn. Save some money in doing so. It's all about trying to save money. Yes, out of pocket to begin with. You got expensive equipment, you got jars, you got all the stuff. And then there's the learning curve. Trust me, you will say, oops, that goes in the trash. And every now and then you pop this open and you look in there like it's an Easter egg hunt and one of your eggs are broken. I'm like, no. So yes, you learn, but if you take care of your equipment, if you take care of your jars, and you store them properly, you can use them time and time and time again. And then the next thing you know, you're ending up buying lids and stuff like this on Amazon and stuff. And some ladies have already seen these, but I'm going to pass a few of these around so people can take a look at them. If you don't mind, just for those that haven't seen them yet. Super, you can get those online. That brings me up to another point, but I'll get to that here in a few minutes. Another reason is meal prep. Working moms, aunts, cousins, having food that you can come home after a day of whatever you've been doing all day and being able to pop open a can, pour it into a jar, and lo and behold, 10 minutes, or pour it in a pot, put it on the stove. Let's see here, we've got some minestrone soup. Add your pasta, put this in there, add about another half so of water, put your pasta in there, 15, 20 minutes, you've got 2 quarts of a hot soup ready to go. And you can make your food your way. I don't eat meat, but here's a chicken soup for my wife. Sorry, all she has to do is pour this in there and warm it up, and she is golden. Chicken. How much is your canned chicken? I know not everybody here eats meat, and that's great, but if you can chicken, okay? And let's face it, if you want chicken salad or whatever, that was so tender, the first jar, she reached in there and grabbed the leg, and it just pulled out the bone. She's like, oh. And she had to work it to get the rest of it out. for those that eat meat, okay? So meal prep is very important as well, and it can be an intricate part of why you can. And let's see, the final reason, gift giving. How many people consider that? That's a tradition that goes back way, way. A young couple gets married and stuff, and you get their first home and stuff like this. And lo and behold, the neighbors show up. You know, nowadays they do, you know, a casserole or a pie or whatever. But let's face it, a young couple, you bring them a couple ready-made meals, and they are definitely, you know, excited about that. Who would turn that down? What about if somebody loses their home? You know, we've seen in North Carolina how many people lost their homes. How many people over there would relish the chance of having a ready meal in a jar, knowing that it was preserved by somebody who cared? Yes, ma'am.
My mother's best Christmas present she ever said was I can have pint jars of tomatoes for her, you know, and when she was alone.
Oh,
She thought that was, she told me that was the best Christmas present she ever got.
there's something to be said from a gift that comes from the heart, isn't it? Do me a favor, folks, and not pointing you out or anything. There is a microphone on there. We are streaming live. So if you have a question, please, and hold the mic up close to your mouth so that that way we're not having to play games with trying to adjust it, okay? So not a problem. I don't mind questions, but please use the microphone if you don't mind. Okay, so gift giving, let's think about during the holidays, though, you know? And that goes back to the meal prep. How much of your Christmas holiday or your holiday meals could you prep up? Mushroom gravy, easily done. Cranberry sauce, hey, that's over there. You can get that all done during the year, and you do your potatoes. Just the potatoes alone. How fast can you do your mashed potatoes and cream potatoes if the potatoes are already cooked, peeled and cooked? You dump them in the jar, flash them with some hot water, pull them out, and do your number, whatever you do. Now, the next question is what to can. There's two different types of canning. There's high pressure canning and there's water bath. Now, if you look at this address up here, this is a North Carolina's home food preservation. Write that down. If you go to that website, it will show you times, you know, how long to pressure based on what your pressure cooking, okay, and canning. There is, believe it or not, quite a bit of information. You'd be shocked on what's on there. But keep in mind, and I'm going to go ahead and add this caveat right at the moment now, I'm going to say things that are controversial, okay? I am going to question authority. I'm going to ask you to do the same. There is a world out there that cans goods differently than we do here in the United States. Seek them out. Look at what they do. We have the internet and we have let's face it, with today's internet and YouTube, you can find out so much information. There's a lady I watch on YouTube. She doesn't speak a word because she doesn't speak English. And she has some fantastic recipes that I have just really loved. My white potato and bean, oh, that is with spinach in it. It's to die for. She doesn't say a word, poor thing, you know, because it's all in whatever language she speaks. There's an older farmstead in some Slavic location, and you watch that woman working, it makes you wonder, is she a machine? Huh? Oh.
Probably, yes.
The flowers and all the stuff around it, she's got an outdoor kitchen.
Yes, yes. And boy, do they, I mean, she makes stuffed grape leaves one time, and she had that in I'm talking, the poor pot was almost more than I don't think she could have reached around that pot. But by the time she was done, her husband, I guess, that other couple Well, they were sitting down there drinking some wine out, and you're like, wow, how picturesque is that? You know, you don't get that in all the time. But anyways, so there's different things of canning. And the final reason is health. Anybody want to take a guess of what's in this jar of ranch-style beans? Phew. Yeah, there's all sorts of hydrogenated soy, lectin, onion powder, vinegar. Oh boy. Distilled vinegar. Guess the one vinegar wasn't good enough. There's stuff on here that you don't know. Now, yes, let's give the food industry some credit. There are some things that, hey, here's HEB Great Northern, right? And it's made with Great Northern beans, salt, water, and calcium chloride. It's a firming agent. Okay, has anybody tasted calcium? No, I'm talking about the chloride, calcium chloride. That doesn't sound very tasty to me. Now, hey, Libby's did really good. It's carrots, water, and salt. Oh, nope, they have calcium chloride too. How about that? Well, is there anything here? This is Goya. It's supposed to be better. All right, let's take a look at this one. Oops. Wow. They hit it. Or I'm not seeing it. I don't see it. There we go. So mystery. So all those things are in your food. All these things have an effect on you. Your environment's already rough enough. What you put in it shouldn't be rougher than the environment, right? Here's a healthier way for you to go. So that considered, you can meal prep. You can can just regular food and stuff like this. Here's northern beans with bacon bits in it. Now you're thinking, ooh, bacon bits. It's vegan. It's not real bacon. It's just bacon-flavored little things that people put on their salads. My grandson will eat this entire jar, and he's only like that tall if he's given the chance. Here's some pinto beans. You can flavor your beans however you want. Here's how I do mine. I add a teaspoon, half a teaspoon of salt, and then I add my pinto bean seasoning. I add a couple slices of jalapeno and some onion, and then my beans. Top it off with hot water, and when they come out, and I make this, Yeah, to each can. And I do this, and I can make 18 pints in this canner here, and that'll last maybe a month and a half, and they're gone. Excellent question. There are those influencers out there that'll show you how to can dry beans. Okay? And you can do that, but there's something that you need to consider when you do that. If you take these beans right here, now these are dry beans, and there's a trick on how you could do this. I tried one way, and it didn't work, and I'm going to let you know what way that is. And then I tried another way. When you cook beans, you've got to rinse them. They have what they call a lectin in there, okay? And that lectin will attack your gut biome. It will damage it and cause problems. Have you ever heard of the leaky gut? Okay, this is one of the things that doctors scream about the leaky gut and lectins that cause that problem. So if you're seasoning up your food and you can just dry beans, because the pressure cooker will cook the beans completely. So you don't have to worry about that. But all that lectin's still in there. So you will have to rinse them again. And then some people cook their beans completely and then can them. The drawback to that is you end up with a very mushy bean. I like to soak your bean overnight and then can it. That gives you an opportunity to wash it thoroughly, get as much of the lectins out of it as you can, then can that. Got some latecomers coming in. Yes, ma'am.
Do you use the pressure cooker or the water bath for the beans when you do it that way?
Another great question, but a question that we're going to have to delay on that. I'm sorry, because that's a different part of what I'm going to show you. You can dry can. Here's beans, here's rice, okay? Some black eyed peas. Now, I followed one influencer, and she said, take your jars, you fill them up, you put them in the oven at 200 degrees for 2 hours, then put your lids on there, put the rings on there, set it on the counter, and as the beans cool and everything else. Now, what this is supposed to do, and I'm sure it works, is if there's any poachers or, people in there that, critters that are in there, it will kill them. Okay? And it will. It will prevent any eggs from hatching or anything else. Because the last thing you want to do is just have some food put up and everything, you open it up and it's, it's been visited, been violated. A trick to that is, if you want to do that, stick your beans in the freezer for a day or so, and that will kill them as well, okay? As long as it's a good deep freezer and it gets down to like the single digits or a little below. A good upright freezer will generally freezes right around 5 to -5, depending on how you set it up. So freeze it, you'll accomplish the same thing. Make sure your jar is I keep wanting to say sanctified, that is not right, is sterilized. And you can sterilize by a couple methods, and I'm going to give you a name of a product that you can do it on the fast if you want. But if your jar is sterilized, you put your beans in there and then use a vacuum system. Now there's another trick that you can get with an automotive part that helps you do this. You get the top, you can get ball cells at top that will go on top of this. And if you get a brake pump tester for a car, it will operate that, and you can get a lot better of a seal on it with that than you can, say, like a food saver or something along those lines.
Dishwasher's not good to sterilize.
You want to boil it. Another trick is it's called Star West. Is that right? Star West or Red Star? If you go to any restaurant supply, they have a sanitizing solution. And it's what bartenders use. It's what restaurants use to sanitize stuff. And if you want to go quickly. But if you're okay with boiling your jars, do what? And chemically, yes, it is chemically. If you sanitize with that and then rinse it out really good and wash it out, then you're good. You're golden. Okay? Now, let's see where to go next. Let's go over the products themselves, okay? Things that you will have to have in order to can. Obviously, you're going to need your measuring cups and things along those lines. You want to have something that has at least 1/4 tablespoon, 1/2 tablespoon, and then a regular tablespoon. A funnel. This will help you because down the line you're going to end up with a unique situation. You've got to keep the top of your jars clean. And even using this, you're still going to wipe that down. I'll get that to in a moment. And then you're going to learn how to tighten finger tight. This little device is supposed to help you do so. It only resists up to a certain point and gets you to finger tight, so you get finger tight. And Ball has one of their own. I don't use it. I get in trouble because I tighten things up too tight at the house. I tighten fingertip, 2 finger, thumb and a finger, and tweak it, and that's it. Okay, just a little bit. Boom. Now, there is a case when that is not applicable, but when you're canning, it is, okay? So let's go over the jars. You've got 1/2 gallon, quart, pint, little, even 1/2 pints. Different things take different canning. First thing you want to do is inspect your jar, and you really want to check the top along here, okay? don't forget to look along the jar. And you'll know when you miss one. When you open this up and you look down in there and you've got a mess sitting where a jar used to be, that was one that you missed. You're going to have losses. Understand that. It's not the end of the world. Yes, it's frustrating. You put a lot of work in that. You should be able to reap the benefits of it. But yes, you're going to break some jars. It happens. Especially if you're being frugal and you want to go to, say, garage sales or estate sales and stuff. Great way to get your jars up. Again, though, you buy a whole batch of jars. Take the time. Go through each jar. Look, because this thing gets up some pretty high temperatures. And if there's a chip in there, and say it doesn't blow the glass out, and your family's eating this, yeah, now that there's a chip of glass in there and you don't know about it, yeah, trust me, you're sitting there washing your dishes and stuff, and you look down and you're like, oh my gosh, it chipped. Your mind's going to race, oh my God, who swallowed that? Hopefully and prayerfully, nobody did, but still, it's the possibility, you know? Okay, so, and then you're going to have a lid. This is what is really called the lid, okay? This is the ring. The ring does not always stand on your product. It does not stay on there. The only time you have this on there is when you're canning, when you're transporting, and that's it. You do not store with your ring on. Say you didn't get a good seal. It's hard to tell at the time. Even after doing all the waiting and everything else, it didn't seal and you don't know that. If you have this ring on there holding it down nice and tight, you won't know. The only way you'll start to notice is there's an odd smell in your pantry. That's not fun. Now you got to track down that. And you know, it's easy. You start looking for a discoloration and then you'll find it. But it's a lot easier when you can go over and demonstrate this real quick. If it's not sealed, you hear that? Now see, that didn't pop back up. But this is a used lid, so that's why. Used lids, you're going to hear everybody tell you, throw away your lids once you're done. If you open up these carefully, you don't have to. You don't want to use them for canning anymore. But let's face it, we use ball jars for all sorts of stuff other than canning, you know, and it can be for leftovers or whatever. As long as this is not scratched anywhere in here, then you'll be fine. And also you want to inspect your rubber. Even on the new ones, you want to do this. You don't want any metal exposed, and you don't want any of the rubber damaged. And you don't want to see any dents along this thing anywhere around. Now I have got 2 rings over here. You want to inspect your rings as well. This one is bent. You don't want to use a bent ring. And this is rusted. Inspect your rings. Every time you buy a package of jars anyways, you're going to get new rings anyways. So, you know, don't, you know, no sense of being, that frugal. That's a bit much. All right, and then, okay, so that encompasses the jar. So then we've got the funnel. You have different kinds of funnels. You can get the stainless steel if you don't like the plastic, and a lot of people don't for good reason. But you want to get a good funnel so that you are always doing the best you can to keep that lip nice and clean, okay? You're going to have this is for head space. On here, we'll tell you anywhere from 1/4 inch all the way up to, I know I have glasses. There we go. Yep, can't read it. 2 inches. This goes up to a 2-inch head space. And the way to do that is just put it on the top, and this is a 2-inch head space. Here's a 1 head space. Ball is very clever on this first ring right here is 1.5 inches headspace. Headspace is an area that you have to leave clear for the canning process, because when this is in here and it's boiling and it's doing, you have to have some room for expansion. Now, if you don't have enough headspace, you're going to end up having what they call siphoning. And siphoning is basically the pressures have built up so high in here that it's pushing the liquid out of the jar. And you'll know that you have that when you open it up and you look down in there. Instead of having just water, you have water and some stew. Okay, you got some siphoning going on. Or you'll have a jar that, like this jar, siphoning occurred. Okay, now if you look at this jar, you may say, man, is that any good? Because at the top, this is going to lead me into another discussion about one of those things that's probably going to get me in trouble if I don't watch out. Okay, so because the FDA does not appreciate it when you go against their collective wisdom. See how it's darker on top? And there's a reason for that darkness. That darkness is not that it's gone bad. It's burnt, is what it is. So you would love for your jars to have plenty of liquid where all your things are just perfect, okay? That it's under the water. But it doesn't always happen. And that could be also caused by you got too eager. One of the things that you absolutely have to have while you're canning is patience. Yeah, when I say you have to have a stream for 10 minutes of steam, it's not this. No, that's not a stream. It's got to be a constant steam flow that you can see. If you can't see it, it's not steaming, okay? Then and only then do you put it on there. Now, here's where most people get in trouble is when they're done. What they want to do is they're like, oh, it's done, And they pull this off. They pull off their weights and everything else. You do not want to start cracking this thing open, until it is depressurized, because this will put a major hole in your ceiling if you don't watch it, if not blow up a house. There's been news reports where people blew up their house so bad. There was a case in Bakersfield, California, where a canner exploded because the lady left it. She left it, and it built up pressure, and it clogged this little spout. Now, nowadays, they have this rubber ring at a certain point. It will pop out. But because jars exploded inside, food came up and blocked here. So that canner reached up way beyond its threshold, and the explosion was so powerful that the house next door was shifted off of its foundation. Oops. I wonder if that's covered in homeowner insurance. We don't know. I bet it is now, but back then, maybe not. Patience is critical. And we'll get to the step-by-step on what you do so you don't get all that siphoning occurring, okay? Then you're going to have a magnet. So as you're preparing your food, the process that you'll have a small pot. And in this pot, you'll have about 3 inches of water or so, and you're going to keep this nice and hot. And trust me, this is a dream isn't it? And you can just put it straight on your deal and keep on trucking. I love that thing. This is also a debubbler. Another one of the things that will cause siphoning is you didn't debubble. Now, debubble is say I've got a jar full of beans. And you could use a chopstick as well. But when you pour your water in there, your beans will have little pockets of holes, where it's holding air, just from surface pressure and everything else. You just stab this down around and spin it around. It's not supposed to be so packed that you couldn't get this in there anyways. So you fill around and you'll see a few bubbles pop up. And yeah, I know a lot of you be like, well, that wasn't very much, but trust me, it adds up. So debubble every time. Make it a habit. In fact, canning will teach you the value of having good habits. It really will. Then there's a variety of tongs. Here's a jar tong. This is one style. Here's ball styles one. And they are for reaching in. Trust me, you do not want to reach in even after about an hour of sitting there. You don't want to reach in there and grab a hold of one of these jars. When you pull it out, it's going to be bubbling and going crazy and everything else. So having one of these is fantastic. Another thing I would suggest that you would have at the table with you is a small little jar, bowl. A bowl to hold some vinegar. You're going to want some paper towels. You're going to want to have a rag. Always have a rag on hand. Constantly clean your station. I sound like a cook. You want to constantly keep your area clean, okay? Because it's a system that you're doing. You're going from point A to point B, and there's regimented steps along that system when you're dealing with this kind of pressure. Always follow your system, and if you get in that habit of doing so, your canning future is going to be a very happy and bright one. You're really going to enjoy yourself because there's so many things that you can do with canning. Another thing is a Sharpie. And you're like, well, why, Mac? Why, Monty, why would you have to have that? Well, you want to label. You always want to label your stuff. Rotate your stock, so to speak. This soup is going to be good for about, well, okay, let's see. You could say the website's going to tell you no more than 6 months to a year. I've known people who've eaten food that's been canned for 8, 9 years. This jar here, which I made a mistake and followed somebody's advice, is good for 30 years. Yeah. Did you have a question back there? Did you raise your hand, ma'am? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, and this is supposed to last for 30 years as well. This dry canning can do that if you vacuum. Oh, did you hear that? So that's no longer sealed, is it? Yep. No, it's still good. It's dry rice. It's fine. But I would use it first. But we've got, right. The whole, yes, ma'am.
So where would you store your canning? Like, can you put it in your garage, in your laundry room?
You want to
Or
try to put it.
Does it have to be in a pantry?
Well, we say pantry because pantries are usually within the inner portion of the house, especially in today's design. The reason why is that you do not want to store these in any heat where it's going to get hot. And sunlight is another evil that will corrupt your food. Huh? A cooler, darker area. I know today's houses, that's where the root cellar came in so fantastic is it was always at a constant, like, what was it, 68 or something, and it's dark, and you never had to worry about that. If you put this in your laundry room, you got your heater going, you got a dryer going, you got your washer going. So you can, it's not a cardinal sin, it's your food, that's what I would say. But at the same time, it's going to lower your shelf life if you do put it there. The garage, definitely not, unless you've got an AC garage. No? We're actually entertaining that idea because it's so hot in there. So yeah, that's crucial on how you store it. And while we're there on the storing department, you got 2 jars. Say you did 18 pints of black eyed peas or apples or whatever. Okay, I got that one on too tight. A lot of people make the mistake by storing jar on jar. You don't want to do that. Okay, first of all, it's unstable. Second, because it does. It wobbles around and everything else. And another reason is if when you're reaching in tight spaces and you bump this and you dent it, it will slowly, may not immediately, but it can and slowly release itself because of that dent. So again, the rings come off because that's going to be your indication if it's good or not. Okay, so the ring's off, and if it's gone bad, your lid will be loose. Trust me, you don't want to have a bad can sitting in there. If the lid pops loose and that food goes bad, you're going to know fairly soon. Because you'll walk in, you're like, oh boy. It's like that onion, you know. You walk in there, or the potato that went bad on you. You're like, oh Lord, you know, and you get to digging, and oh, there it is. Oh God. Yep. Canning's pretty much the same way. So, and then, who knew you can can bread? This is cornbread. I canned this night before last. Yep. This is great for camping. Yeah. Is it not? And it comes out so you slice it and you can use like make these perfect little patties. Okay. You can do that with brownies. You can do that with cupcakes. You can do that with regular bread. Whatever. The way to do it.
So you baked it in the oven?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Basically, you fill it up like you're doing cupcakes, okay? With your batter. And you fill it about the 50% place. Bake it for whatever it says on the package. And when it's done, you pull it out. You pull one can out or one jar out at a time. Test it, make sure it's done, because sometimes it doesn't, you know. And you test it. If it is good, have your rings and stuff ready. Screw it on. This time, go ahead and put it. This is the one case where you can go ahead and crank it on there a little good, okay? Because it's not using a pressurized system to can, so you're going to use the ring to can, okay? I know she's over there grinning like she's. Huh? I brought it for people to test. I brought 2 jars of soup. If everybody wants to see just how well this system works, I'll be more than happy to warm that up for you, okay? And everybody can try it. Now let's go through some don'ts. You don't want to reheat the jar itself with the product inside. You risk an explosion by doing so, okay? This is under pressure, believe it or not, and that's what's keeping it sealed. It is protected from the outside world because it was reduced to a 0 vacuum inside. Yeah, if you take the lid off, yeah, sure you can, but, you know, I know in the military we used to, there was a product called sea rations. Were you in the military? I did. I saw them. You saw them? And the military had this unique heater that they would set down in a big, super sturdy trash can, and you'd write your name on yours, and they'd heat up the trash can full of boiling water. And they had these baskets they would just hang on the side, and you would put your scrambled eggs with axle grease, and you would write your name on it, and you put it in there, and it'd warm it up for you. And they would come out all, you know, like they're fixing to blow up, and you crack it open, and it would work. Spam, you know, and all that disgusting stuff. Yep. That's what they would do. So that, you know, but these you don't want to do that with. You don't want to, you got to remember, you're trying to protect this as much as you can. You want to protect your jars. Because every jar you break, that kind of sets you back financially speaking, right? Once your jars have paid for themselves, okay, what does a can of organic black beans cost? $1.39. How much does a bag of dry black beans cost? And you know how many cups of dry beans it takes to make 1 pint? 1/3 of a cup. So how many cans of beans can you get that's wholesome, that you know what's in it, it is your food, and it's going to last a lot longer, and doesn't have all that, what is that, you know? Is that any good? Should I be eating that? Well, you don't have to worry about that. So, yes, you want to protect those jars as much as humanly possible. Every time you break a jar, you set yourself back. And, you know, like I said, you got some pretty stuff. I hadn't shown them over there. Now, the world of canning ever since COVID has gone bonkers. People realized really quick and fast that food preservation is one of those things that they need to start or taking care of their own food became important. It shined a light on the world, or the world finally realized, ooh, wait a minute, our system is almost a house of cards, really, because at any time, the strangest little thing can make it upset. Groups that we've had all our faith in, the grocery stores, all of a sudden had problems keeping up with food. How did COVID stop that? Well, nobody was allowed to stand next to each other was one, you know. Everybody was told to stay home. And so here's all this. And then when people were staying home, what did they start doing? Well, I got to figure out. I mean, there's videos of people playing with ping pong balls, going down pots and pans, trying to make it in a cup, and they were all excited. These are full-grown adults doing this silly stuff. Well, some people say, hey, you know what? I'm going to take charge of my food. I'm going to learn how to start canning for myself. And then, you know, canning started getting really popular, and it got to the point where jars and lids, especially lids, became scarce. When that happened, and those you had other companies pop up. Now, I bought this stainless steel funnel thing from a company I never heard of before. I did so because it was cheap. This is supposed to be for a wide mouth jar. If it can rattle around like this in there, that's not very good. We got a problem. So while I'm trying to can this, it can move around. Don't like that. So I brought this up here as a demonstration of things that you got to be careful of. Now, yes, the little plastic one that they give you, when you buy the kit, it does the same thing. But wouldn't you much rather have one that sits fairly nice and tight? Let's say on this jar here. Oh, that's nice, huh? But I went cheap, and this is what I ended up with. So do your research. There's people out there that sell lids that are in a perfectly matched box to this, except it doesn't say ball. And you wouldn't know it. I clicked on it, I was like, oh, hey. Man, I can get 500 of those for $25. Heck yeah. Wait a minute. It doesn't say ball on it. And it has the same picture, everything. It doesn't have the United States flag on it, though. And it doesn't say ball. But the package is light green. It looks identical. Oh, yes. Super Ant. Their product seems very good, but it's one of those you got to live and learn. You know, you want to look for something that has this, what they call ceramic coated, a nice, good, thick rubber seal that goes all the way around. Those are critical. And is it a good size steel? You know, you hear how the depth of that sounds? If it goes ding, ding, you know, it's really tiny and pathetic, or it just doesn't seem to make a sound at all. No, you don't want that, because you'll never know where did that jar go? Oh, did it reseal? And see, they'll reseal too. Huh? Oh, yeah. Yeah, a cheap one, you won't hear that. You really won't. And by the way, just a little side note that I think is really cool. When you're sitting there and you're watching TV and you got a whole 16 pints of whatever you canned sitting in there on the counter and you hear, oh, there's another one, you know, you're all excited. It is. I know it sounds silly, but it is true. I know. I get a lot of pride when my cans are all, I'll run in there. And you don't want to push down. You don't want to assist it. It's hard to resist. You want to. You're like, oh, is that down there? You don't do it. Okay? Don't do it. All right. Okay, we covered that. We covered measurements and stuff. You're going to learn on this website, they will tell you duration of canning. So say we take beans, okay? I know beans because I do a lot of them. For quart-sized jars, it's 90 minutes under 11 pounds of pressure. If you look at this weight, we'll have 3 different spots on there for different pounds of pressure. The pressure is dictated by our elevation. So under 1,000 feet, you have 11 pounds of pressure. Oh, and then it just gets bigger and bigger. We're at the lowest, so 11 is going to be your starting point there. I was heading somewhere with that. The duration also is determined on the size of jar in which you're using, okay? And you want to try to can with a full load, okay? You don't want to can with a partial load. And I know what you're thinking. Well, Monty, what happens if I have 5 quarts of soup? What do I do then? Well, if you have enough jars to fill your system up, that's what you want to do. You don't want to have loose spacing in there with your jars. Reason being, they'll get bouncing around way too much and they'll collide and they will shatter. And that's one of those heart-wrenching moments when you open it up and you've broken 2 or 3 jars. It's really disappointing. So what do? Well, this is kind of a prepper's dream right here, is it not? So how about if we take some filtered water and fill up another jar and put it in there? Clean water is really, a good thing, especially during tornadoes and hurricanes and everything else. Having, a dozen so quart-sized jars of nothing but purified water in there in your pantry can go a long way. And not just, that you have it. You'll feel better knowing that you do have it, along with some decent food and everything else. Food and water is our bane, really. Whoever controls the food and water controls people. Control your own. There we go. So you could do that, or a lot of people will just stick a empty jar in there. I don't advise that because you're beating up your jar. It has no weight. It's going to get bounced around. It's going to be bullied by the full jars. So don't do that. Now let's go ahead and start covering what the procedure is to canning your jar, canning your food. Number one is you're going to take your...
Before you start that process, my bad because I was late, but did you talk about the pot before we got here, like where you get it, how much an average pot costs and stuff like that? Just
Well,
so
see,
you
there
know.
was this impatient group I had, and they kept asking questions, and I'm not sure if I got that covered, everybody. Okay, let's cover the pot real quick, just to be on the safe side. Before you is the All-American 921. It will do, the reason why I went with the 921 is because the 921 does 18 pints at a time. It does 7 quarts at a time. It's made in America, which I was really proud to say I spent the extra money for. And it's made in Wisconsin. Cheesehead behind me. The influencer I happen to watch, canning beans, is exactly what she had. So those influencers, they work. This, when I got it, I was like, holy cow, this thing is almost military grade. It really is. It's potent. It's milled. It's not casted. Now there's other brands. There's Nesco. Nesco is an excellent one. There's also, you know what? I wrote that down. Let's see here.
Do you have to use a pressure cooker? I mean, that scares me.
You're gonna get me in trouble, aren't you?
I would probably be one of the one that blows up the house.
Okay, let's go ahead. This keeps popping up. This is the third time this has once popped up. Okay. I am not sold that you have to pressure can your food. I am not sold on that at all. And there's a group of people who don't use pressure canners. Would you like to guess who they are? The Amish. They are trailblazers when it comes to storing their food. These people are able to store fresh eggs up to 2 years with no electricity. How about that? And I strongly suggest that you get this book. It's an excellent book. And the second book would be, obviously, Balls. She's going to take it around in case you need a better picture of it. Now, our sister over here looked up this particular canner for us a moment ago, and it was $4.49. Number one reason why I'm not a big fan of pressure canning. I bought this 5 years ago, and I think I paid $3.50 or so for it at that time. And yes, I've canned quite a bit in it. Have I got my money back? No, I wouldn't say no at this point in time. I'm sure after, but what's nice is this is such of a grade of a canner. One of my kids is going to say, oh man, he left me the canner. Or, maybe I don't know. Anyways, and so, yes, pressure.
How are the old aluminum cast pressure cookers?
How are they?
Yeah, I mean, are they reliable or safe?
Are you saying the old ones?
Yeah, I have one that my mother had.
Well, here's what you want to look at. Okay, one, does it have a good gauge? And to know on the gauge is, if the gauge looks like it works, the inside looks, inspect is what I'm going to suggest. And here's what you really have to have, a safety valve. A valve that will pop if the pressure gets too great. If it does have all that, then yes, ma'am, I'd say go for it. And if you can, just make sure you got to inspect your equipment every time you're going to.
One of those things clogged.
Yeah, if you get this clogged, that's why we have that. Because that'll blow that out, okay? The pressure will get up too high and it'll blow that. Oh, there is a 5. I didn't think about the.
I have a question.
Yes, dear.
I don't know if you've already answered this. Does it matter what kind of stove you use?
Yes, it does. There's 2 types of food that you can can. It's broken down in canning world. There's 2 kinds of food. There's acidic and non-acidic. If you're canning tomatoes, you don't need this because tomatoes are acidic.
Like gas or electric or the glass tub.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yes. I have gas. I use gas. If you're shopping for a pressure canner, I believe Nesco's. Oh, what do you have? I don't have a pressure canner. You just. I see you rebel. All right. You're right. There is 2 different kinds. There is some that will work. This one will work on both. The Nesco is better for that. This is better for gas. This one here is.
So I have like my stove is that kind of glass thing. Will it shatter that?
See, that I would,
Because they even advise you when you use cast iron. I don't really follow the rules on that, but they say even cast iron can shatter that.
yeah.
So do you think?
I wouldn't use this on the glass top.
Okay.
But what you can do is get yourself a shrimp fryer or a crawfish cook set and do it outside. That's what I suggest to anybody. Do it outside.
And then you won't blow up your house.
Huh?
Then you won't blow up your house.
That's right. You won't destroy your kitchen. Embarrassing as that would be. Oh, yeah. I mean, this one lady on Make It Make, she bought an Amish water bath that was about the size of this top, and I want to say she said she could do 20 quarts at once. And the beauty of the water bath is all you need is keeping, 2 to 3 inches of water above the can. It's a no-brainer. This thing's going to get spitting. It's going to get noisy. It's okay. If it does a da-da-da more than 3 times a minute, too hot. Get it turn, and you got to be careful because all right. Say like this is here we would can at 10 pounds, right? If it goes below and you put the 10-pound weight on there, you're actually canning at 11. Okay, 11 pounds. So when it gets up to 10, it's silent because this weight's more than enough to hold that pressure down. But it'll go up to 11. So now it's going to start spitting at you. And it'll rattle and it'll spit. And it'll keep doing this. If it does it too much, that means it's too much pressure is built in there and it's too hot. Now the drawback is if you turn it down too low and it drops back down, you've got to start your time over. Yep. Meanwhile, your food is cooking. You know, how many times can you heat up the same batch of beans before you've got, refried beans? You're no longer cooking, regular beans. You're doing refried. I love refried beans. I don't like it when I refried my beans when I didn't want them, though. So, yes, I would suggest going outside. That's why a pressure canner is, it's not something it's not a set and forget kind of thing. No canning is. Maybe the baking style, the oven style canning, you can pretty much as long as you're using the timer. But, you dealing with this, you got to babysit it. You got to listen to it, talk to you and stuff. So you can't be off visiting the neighbor. You're going to blow your house up. You don't want to do that. Okay? Back to, okay, so did I answer your ladies' questions? Oh, and I told you about the price about this one? Yeah. This one was $449? Yes, ma'am.
There is one other option to that. There's a steam canner that's a lot easier.
Yeah, I
to
haven't
handle
messed
than
with
that,
any of those.
But I've not tried
Yeah.
it.
I'd like to tell everybody here, right now, I'm a novice at this. The reason why I'm doing this class and the reason why I've got all this equipment is because I went on YouTube and I did some research. And I decided, you know what? I want to do that. I want to start storing my own stuff. And then 2020 came and boy, I was very motivated to start doing my own stuff. But it reminded me, hey, my parents used to do this and I loved it. There was nothing like cracking open that jar of peach butter my mom made. Oh, yes, it was really, or the apples or the blackberries, and my dad was, they didn't can, well, we did a lot of tomatoes because Dad bought the wrong fertilizer, but our whole garden got taken over by tomato plants, so we had a lot of tomatoes. Yeah. I mean, that was exciting and stuff to do that. But again, I'm no expert. I'm not. And you don't have to be. My family has eaten everything I've canned, everything that I've done. from the apples to the soups to the beans to carrots. She loves carrots. She'll go through a batch of carrots in no time flat. Green beans, and what better way to store your food than to can it? Yeah, you could freeze it, but what if the power goes out? I mean, that last hurricane that hit us really showed us just how on the spot our electric grid is, isn't it? And now they're wanting to tie it in with the rest of the country. That's not going to help us very much. It'll help everybody else out, but not us. So having something that's shelf stable is fantastic. And it helps you out. There is research out there. Don't be shy. Get out there and try. There's one lady I listen to a lot on YouTube. I know I keep saying YouTube. I'm not a paid spokesman for YouTube, by the way. Honeystead. And she has an awesome little saying. She says, get your hands dirty and learn something old. And I really, really like that. And she's right. I mean, and she does bees, she's an herbalist and everything else. She's you know, my Elvis Presley is what she is. But anyways, and so yeah, I agree with her, because in today's society, we're all about the quick and go, you know? And it's not helping anybody, and it's not teaching anybody anything. You know, there was, I forget what magazine I read this in, that how many women can't cook today? How many can't cook today? I'm afraid my poor wife is not the best cook in the world, but she'll get in there and she cooks. There are certain things she could cook very good. I generally do the cooking, but she's the, I mean, oh no, I mean, she kept us going for, right. Chicken soup, I got it. Anyway, so yeah, that's the whole purpose of what I'm doing is to teach you not to be afraid of that canning, okay? Get in there. It's fun. You'll really, really enjoy yourselves, I assure you. Now, let's get into a really quick step-by-step basis. By the way, in the future, I am planning on doing a more hands-on training course where we will actually physically do some canning. And everybody, it will cost, but everybody will take home their own product. And in that course, you will be able to do some canning, and you'll do a ferment while we're waiting for the jar to finish, while we're waiting for the canner to finish, okay? Does that sound exciting? Good, I'm glad you like that idea, because I wasn't sure. Okay, so we're going to go over a step-by-step basis quickly on doing this. All right, first of all, the first thing you want to do, number one, is obviously you've made the decision you're going to can whatever it is, so you got to prep it up. If it's beans, you're going to want to soak your beans overnight at very minimum. You want to do that. Number two, how you want your beans. You need to decide. So let's run with beans, shall we? Okay, so you're going to choose what bean you're going to do, okay? Now you're going to choose, how do you want that bean? How would you cook that bean if it was, you're ready to eat it right then and there? Again, we're canning what we want, not something that looks pretty or anything else like that, unless you're canning for a neighbor maybe. So let's say we're going to want some, let's go with black beans, shall we? So with black beans, here's what I do. I put I want to make sure I have my salt ready. I make sure, Okay, and when you use salt, look on the back and you want to see where it says salt for the ingredients. No anti-cake or anything like that. And I use sea salt, okay? Amazon carries it. I've got some here from HEB. It's pretty much as Grainery's got some, exactly. A shout out to our friends there. So you want to use, and remember, you're canning for you and your family. So are you going to buy, black beans? It's a personal joke. She'll go buy something, here's Hellman's mayonnaise and mayonnaise. And I'm like, okay, all right. And you taste it, oh, cool, that's horrible. And she, yeah, but I saved 3 cents. God. So I call it the psp effect. I use per pint, I use a quarter teaspoon. You don't want to make it too salty. And you got to remember, your seasonings are going to be compounded in here. So you don't have to go crazy. It's going to be spicy. Now, on my black beans, I put cilantro, white onion, and I get canned chipotle peppers, and I cut up half a pepper in each pint. I use 1/3 of my dry beans, 1/3 to a half a cup, okay? 1/3 dry, half a cup soaked, okay? So half a cup of your dry black beans. You've already got cilantro in there. Let's see, do I put anything else? Nope, that's it. And when it's done cooking and done pressure and you've canned it and everything else, those beans will be fantastically tender and full of flavor because they're cooking in the very seasoning in which you put them. So it's fantastic. That's all it takes. See, I had to call you out, didn't I?
Sorry.
Had to do that,
Is the
didn't I?
cilantro fresh or dried?
Either way, doesn't really matter. I prefer fresh, but hey, if you're doing, like I watched this one lady not too long ago do Boston baked beans, and she did a fantastic job and stuff, and all her ingredients were dry. You got to remember though, when you're using dry ingredients versus fresh, dry is about twice the potency of fresh. Okay, so you don't want to get too carried away, or you're going to have something that's really potent. All right, so
Sorry.
once you've got,
Hi. So you just put the dry stuff in there? You don't have to put water or anything in that jar?
not yet. This is what we're doing. We're prepping
In
up.
the jar,
Yeah, water goes in the jar as well.
with your beans and your seasoning?
Dear?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to put water in there. You got to do that.
And then up to that line that you were like,
Right, you want at least an inch headspace.
okay.
The website will tell you how much of headspace on there. It will tell you that, okay? So now you know what headspace is, right? Okay. Okay, so now you got your vegetables all set up, and you're going to have your jars inspected. Your lids are going to be in a little small pot of water. Again, you want to use filtered water. Everything that you put in this jar, you're going to want it filtered, okay? You want to use the best you can, so you're obviously going to want to have filtered water in there. You use water from the city, it's full of fluoride, it's full of chlorine, and a lot of that gets destroyed in the process, it really does. But filtered water, it's a must. Why go through the whole process of organic this, organic that, and everything else, and you use city water? Ugh. Just the thought of that. Well water is fine, but I would also filter it. You can, because some places like it has like my grandmother lived down by Victoria, and they had a very high, what's that egg? Sulfur, very high sulfur in the area. So you take a shower, you're like, I smell like boiled eggs. This is horrible. It really, yeah, Spring Creek. Yes, exactly. So yeah, it was just absolutely rancid. So yeah, you want to filter if you can. All right. So now you got you prepped everything up. You're going to put about 2 inches of water in here, 2 to 3 inches of water, no more than that. You're going to put it on the stove and you're going to start getting it warm. Okay. By the way, your jars need to be warm. Or do not get this water going and use cold jars. You want everything to blend together, temperature-wise. When you fluctuate your temperatures too much, too fast, too rapidly, you're going to have siphoning, and you're going to end up with this discoloration. Now, while
Hi. Okay, this is going to seem so. How do you warm your jars?
what's that?
How do you warm your jars?
Well, you kind of hold them. No, when you do a hot water bath, you sterilizing your jars. You boil them. You can go that route. You can just have a nice hot water and just set them down in the water, and while they're sitting there waiting, along with your lid, so everything's all together. What I'm trying to say is either you're going to work with warm product or you're going to work with cold product. But whatever you do it completely. That way it all comes together, it all warms up together. Yes, dear?
Does it matter if your lids are hot?
Yes, to me it does. I have not had failures because my lids weren't hot. I've never really tested that particular water, but this is a rubbery coating. When it's warm, it's malleable. So when you put that on your jar and you crank it down, well, you shouldn't crank it, should I? That was the wrong word, wasn't it? When you screw it down, you want that to ever so slightly have that imprint, you know? And that's why it's so important to make sure everything's clean and ready to go. Well, the lid isn't going to be, that rubber part is going to cool off fairly fast anyways, okay? So you've got, and basically you're setting up a assembly line. You have your vegetables and everything else. You get your jars. You start labeling everything in. You do your salt. You do your seasoning. Like when I'm doing, usually like pinto beans. Where's my pinto? There it is. Just a tablespoon of pinto bean seasoning in my pintos. It really goes a long way. Huh? Teaspoon. Yes. Per pint for a quart tablespoon. You know, depends on how wild you want to live, I guess. Okay, so you get everything assembled. Now, you want to make sure you have everything. You want to have a jar, or a little bowl sitting to the side that has vinegar in it. Okay, and you're going to use a paper towel or a rag. Get that vinegar after you filled all your jars, and you get your water, your cold or hot, however you're going to be doing it. You fill up to your inch head space. Measure your head space. Okay, again, your head space will be debubbled. Check your head space, and after you're done with that, and before you put your lids on, you take that vinegar rag and you wipe each and every one of them completely. Okay? Don't throw that vinegar away. We're not done with it yet. Okay? Then you set your rings on it and everything else. Then you set your rings, your lids and your rings, and you tighten them finger tight. No more than that. Come on now. I know some of y'all are strong now, so don't be cranking down on that. Just finger tight like I showed you, okay? Now, there, like I said, Ball does have a little device. I don't know how much it costs, but I know a lot of people swear by them. It gives them the perfect finger tight each time. Once you're done with that, take your vinegar, dump it in the water, okay? What that's going to do is, if you don't do that, the water, no matter how filtered it is, when you pull it out, you're going to have, you know, it's going to be all cloudy and everything else. And all mine are perfectly clean, ma'am.
Does it matter what kind of vinegar?
Huh?
Is there a certain kind of vinegar?
Just plain white
Just-
vinegar.
Okay, white vinegar.
Yes. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to have shadow. It doesn't harm it. It's ugly. And let's face it, why would you put such a pretty lid on something and make it ugly, you know? Your friend may see it, I'm telling you, they might. Okay, so then after you get them, you set it in here, and now comes the labor of this. Okay, so once you put it in there, you start bringing it up to pressure. If you use this. Right now, we're assuming we are using the pressure canner. FDA, did you hear that? Okay, so we're going to do this, okay? And you're going to bring it up to pressure. And once the pressure gets going, your weight is going to stay out. Oh, on this particular canner, I almost forgot. On my particular canner, the Nesco, I believe, has a ring of some kind on it or whatever. So does some of the others. This has none. So what I have to do is I take my finger and I get a little thing of olive oil or grapeseed oil, or some kind of oil, and I put a little oil all the way around, and then on the inside as well. Huh? No, those don't. Those don't. This one, it's labor intensive. Okay, so after you fill them up, now remember, this must be, and every pressure canner will have these. You don't want your jars sitting on the very bottom of your canner, okay? So your jars are going to sit on here. And if you're going to do pints, like this one can do 2 layers at the same time, you put this in, put your first layer on, set this on top of the first layer, and then put the other ones. And your jars, this one, the jars stick up about high on the pint size, okay? Now, I have discovered on this particular one, I can't do as many wide mouths as I can the regular mouth because it just won't fit. So if you don't mind having intermixed mouths on there, then you can put like 2 regular mouths and then you can fit them all in there.
Can you do different sizes in each canning? Like a
You mean
pint
a pint and a quart?
Yeah.
No, you don't want to do that because you're going to have way too much movement inside the canner going on. And then again, boom, there we are again. You're going to end up losing a jar or 2. And if it's your favorite soup, you're going to be quite upset with me if I said yes.
There's one other reason you don't want to do that. And the gal on Make It Make said that if you mix your sizes and like you're doing carrots and it tells you to do them for so long and you got a big jar and a small jar, you have to do it for the amount of time for the large jar.
That's right.
And that
That's
means the other one's going to be mushy.
right. For instance, yeah. Now in this one, if I'm doing pints and beans, okay, it takes 75 minutes. If I'm doing quarts of beans, it takes 90 minutes. Okay? So that's what she's pointing to, is you're going to end up burning really bad, or you're going to cook them to oblivion as it is. That's why you cannot can. Okay, you're not supposed to can rice, and you're not supposed to can pasta. Although you can water bath them. Reason being is they will turn to mush in this guy. It will be. Does not even sound agreeable, does it? If you do, by the way, get a canner, a pressure canner, and you see all these labels on here, these warning labels, please do not remove those. You know, your canner goes up there for a while and up in the attic after a while, then 4 or 5 years goes by. You're like, oh, I remember I've got that canner up there. I'm going to can some stuff. Are you going to remember all the safety issues with your canner? Probably not. Probably not. Okay, so now after you've loaded your jars, you've got your jars in there, you put your lid in there, and you properly secure your lid on top, okay? And after you've got that, and you're building your pressure up, you want to set, this one you have screws. Nesco, I think it's just a twist on or something like those. But you want to make sure if you have these, you want to make sure you do it across from each other at the same time, okay? Because it makes a difference. All right, finger tight again. Now this thing is locked on there really tight, and you're starting to build pressure. When you start hearing that, and it's starting to spit like that, you got to wait until it's a solid spray. You've got to be able to see it, okay? Once it does, boom, we start our clocks for 10 minutes. The race is on, okay? So for 10 minutes, this thing's going to be going. And after 10 minutes, you're going to need a pair of pliers or a serious pair of gloves, because I tied mine on with a string here, so I'll never lose it. Yeah, there's a reason why they sell these on Amazon separately by themselves. Anyways, and they're hard to see, but you'll drop that on there. And as you can tell, it's loose. And it spins around and everything else. And at first, it'll be fine. And then you'll see your pressure gauge start climbing. Once you put this on there, it'll probably be already sitting about 5 or 6 pounds when you put it on there. And then it won't take very long. It'll start creeping right on up there. You don't want it getting too high. If it gets too high, back it off. Back it off in small increments. Easily bring it down. And for the first 10 minutes, you are going to be probably like this, going, okay. Yeah. You bring pressure down by turning your heat down. Yep, that's how you control that, okay? So yes, dear.
Sorry, I'm very slow with this. You know, you said you watch for the steam to go 10 minutes.
Yes, ma'am?
Is it after the 10 minutes that you put that little thingamajiggy on
Yes,
there?
ma'am.
Oh, okay, after the, okay.
Your weight, your pressure weight. After a steady stream of 10 minutes, then you put your appropriate weight, which you will see on theirs. They'll tell you, how long it is. Okay, so, and once that gets going, I'm trying to speed up so you folks are not here for 4 hours. Okay, so after this thing is rattling along and stuff, and you get it to the point where it's only rattling once or twice, maybe 3 times a minute, and everything seems to be stable, okay, you can breathe easy. And once you put this weight on, that's when your 90 minutes starts. Okay? Once you've stabilized out, that's when your time starts. Well, this would be 75. We're doing pints, remember? Okay, so for 75 minutes, this thing's going to rock and roll, and it's going to keep it going. But you still got to, every now and then, it breathes. It'll get going a little bit, and it'll calm down. So be patient. Watch it, but be patient. Do not let it get below that 10 pounds. If it drops below that 10 pounds, you got to start over. Yep, that means everything in there is getting double cooked. So it's better to go ahead and keep it, it's better to listen rattling more than it is to try to keep that rattling stopped. Also, you don't want to play with the temperature too much. You keep playing with that temperature way too much and you get that fluctuation going back and forth in there, you're going to end up with some siphoning. And remember, we're trying to avoid that. It's like, again, it's not that it's yucky or anything at that point in time. It's just unattractive, Okay, now here comes the real test of patience. Timer gone off, everything has gone smoothly. What do? Do I take the weight off? Nope. Just turn off the stove. Turn off the heat. And you're going to leave it alone. You're going to watch this gauge. You're not going to touch anything. You're just going to watch that gauge. Come check it periodically. Go outside, do whatever you want. But you're going to let this thing all calm down and cool off. The last thing you want to do is start spinning down. No, you don't want to do any of that, because if you get this all too loose and you've got it where that under all that pressure, you're going to create a hole in your ceiling. Yeah, and you may even lose a limb in the process. It can be that serious, okay? It can cause damage. You got to be careful. But if you follow simple steps like this, if you work in a system, things like that don't occur. You don't have to worry about it. Timer went off, you just reach over, turn it off, and you go about your business. Anyways, so it says 0 on your gauge, okay? So it's been sitting there for 40 minutes, and it says 0 on your gauge. Reach over, pull off your weight. Now you can feel over here. By the way, let me go back to the very beginning. When you hear that spitting sound, don't push your finger across there to see if you can feel that. That's steam. It will hurt. You know what the little funny story, side story? In the military on nuclear vessels, they have to check for steam coming out of those pipes. You know how they do that? With a straw broom. They walk along the pipe and brushing a straw broom along top. It is so, some of those pinholes are so small and the steam is coming out at such a high pressure, it will literally cut that straw. If you was to run your hand across it, it would cut your fingers or your hand off. That's why they use the broom. You know what that tells me? Somebody had to do that, and for them to realize, hey, we better not do that anymore. Okay, so now the thing is calmed down. You've got the pressure off. You've taken this off. Now you can feel over there. If you don't feel any air, okay. Let's start backing it off. Opposite of the way we put it on. Cross. Okay, this one's got 6. Pull it off. Crank it. Nothing. Fantastic. Open away from you. If you don't, you're going to get a facial. You didn't have to pay anything for it. Okay, now, here is where it's going to be. This is another critical thing. At my house, I have granite countertops, okay? I'm sure that a lot of you have different types, but you do not want to set a boiling hot jar of anything on rock, stone, steel, anything along those lines. A nice good kitchen towel of some type, lay it out. Remember, it's hot, so if you've got laminated wood or plywood that you're going to send, you don't want to do that either. Yep, we're not going to reach in there, not unless you're going to have a ball, you know. Yep. You reach out individually and you can pull them out, okay? And you're going to set them enough space apart that air can flow through there. Do not go get a fan. You're going to leave it overnight anyways. Just let it cool down. You're going to see the jars are going to be just going crazy. Bubbles are going to be, it's still cooking, believe it or not, in there. Let it go. Just ignore it as much as you can, okay? I know that some of you are like, but I want to know, did it seal? You will know when it seals when you hear that lovely little, oh, there goes another one, you know, and you're excited. And you'll even catch yourself counting when you hear that. Oh, was that 7 or 8? And that's where I usually lose count of 7 or 8 anyways. So the next morning, we come along and we take off the ring off all of them, okay? And this is how you're going to store them. If you want to stack them 2 at a time, the nice little box that your jars came into acts as an excellent shelf and strip that you can stack them on top of each other that way, okay? And you want to use cardboard because it's not as slippery, all right? Now, you're going to want to wash these the next morning. Fair warning. If you got a good amount, like say like this one, you're like, man, that looks great. And you're washing it with soapy water and it starts bubbling, it's a vacuum, okay? So there's no air in there. It boils really easy. If I was to sit here and hold my hands on this, after a bit, you'll start seeing bubbles as it starts boiling. So if you're running nice hot soapy water over the top of it, yeah, it's going to get going. If you see it, don't freak out, okay? Then, what do? We're going to put in what it is and when we did it. Now, do we need to know if it was May 5th, 1996? No, May 96 would be okay. You can go that much. So I'm hoping, after a few jokes and some realization, that all this is easily achieved by doing some simple research on yourself and listening to some other people that have done it themselves. And go ahead, step out of your comfort zone a little bit and try. You'll have a lot of fun. And you'll be quite proud. And let's face it, when you're able to tell your spouse, hey, look what I did. And you can save money all at the same time. And nowadays, like I said, if you do some research of your own on the internet, you can find some beautiful lids and everything else, and you can really make it special for you another way is there. Okay? And as well as gift giving, don't forget, during the holidays, let's face it, right now Costco's got, what are the cranberries? I think they're cheap for cranberries, frozen cranberries, right? And I was like, all right, I could can enough cranberry sauce for the next 14 years if I want. And it won't happen because my daughter is a nut about cranberry sauce, and she just goes ballistic over cranberry sauce. All right. That is kind of a conclusion on the canning aspect. Does anybody have any concerns they would like to discuss on this? Don't feel shy. I'm a newbie too, okay? Oh, yes, Super Ant. This man lives over in Woodville, that's it, Woodville. He lives in Woodville. His company's in Woodville. He is the gentleman with these really beautiful lids. He's a local guy, and I am trying to convince him. Now, he does have a 10% code right here that he included with with this little demo pack that he sent me, which was, super awesome of him. And it's really great that we have somebody local that we can support. Yes, we got Ball is just north of here as well. I don't know, are they? Can the public go there? So they won't sell, huh? Yeah, I know. And yet we can't seem to get lids, there for the longest time. It was frustrating. And don't forget, folks, if you are online, there are people who are not very nice people, okay? So do some, don't just arbitrarily purchase without really doing some little research, okay? But I have talked to this man and his lovely wife. They are super nice people, and they're really stoked that we're doing this class. We were hoping that they were going to be able to do a stop by, but apparently he was not able to get that done. And let's face it, it was raining like crazy. I wouldn't want to be driving from Woodville in the rain anyways. So no other questions?
I had a comment just about the pressure canner.
Yes.
We all use Instant Pots, and that's a pressure cooker.
Right.
And so it's the same thing when that seals and your little bobber thing goes up, your pressure's up, and then when you release that valve, the pressure comes off, and you wait for that to go down before you open your lid. This is kind of the same principle, because a pressure cooking canner seems pretty intimidating, but once you start canning, you get used to how it works, and you'll recognize your canner, what's going on. So that's just my comment.
I got one more thing I forgot to, okay. Now here's where I do get myself in trouble. All right. Pressure canning is perfectly fine, okay, and it's acceptable. It is now considered standard in the industry in the United States. Only in the United States is that a standard issue. There's other countries all over the world, the Slavic system, the Canadian system. Well, the Canadians are fairly close to us. England has got a different system. They've got the glass lids with the rubber ring on it and stuff like that. Everything, I think, and just like the lady on Make It Make will point out as well, water bathing is possible with just about everything as well. Okay, you don't have to cook the oblivion out of it in order to make it healthy and secure it. There are ways of doing it. Now, as Donna had mentioned earlier, you got to be careful about the acidic portion. That's what dictates if you have to pressure can or not. You don't have to pressure can tomatoes because tomatoes are very acidic. But let's say you have some okra, right? And you're canning your okra. What's an excellent side for okra? Tomatoes. Add some tomatoes to your okra. There's your acid. Lemons is an excellent source. The poor lemon, it just gets the beating up. Yeah, vinegar. I'm against vinegar, so for consumption. Right. I don't like. Oh, I know you don't, but it's there. Yeah, the health benefits of it is what concerns me the most. That doesn't mean that you can't use vinegar, but you can also get citric acid. You can buy citric acid at, I believe, yeah, Granary's got it, yeah. And just a couple sprinkles, it doesn't take very much. Huh? Right. Right. So you can add that, and then if you add enough acidity to your product, whatever it is, then you can water bath. And water bath is so much easier. It really is.
So if you're canning beans, you can add the citric acid to that and do it as a
Yes.
water bath instead of a pressure?
Yes, ma'am. And yeah, see, it opens up possibilities, doesn't it? Nope, same thing, same way. I mean, pre-cooking your beans is going to give you more opportunities there for the water bath, but whatever the time is for pressure canning, it's going to be the same for the water bath. So you figure that if you got a pot of beans in there, or you got a jar of beans in boiling water for 90 minutes or for 70 minutes, it's going to pretty much, cook it fairly good. And don't forget, rinse those beans and legumes, okay? Rinse them good. Don't have to scrub them, but rinse them good, okay? All right, so if there's no other questions,
Yes, same thing for the citric acid. How much do we have to put in it? Is
Good
there
question.
Is there like a
You don't
standard?
you use vinegar only? Huh? I don't know. I bought mine bulk, so oops, covered my mic. I would say no more. You would less than a quarter teaspoon. Yeah, I bet make it bake probably knows. Make it make. And in fact, if you're using a computer to watch her stuff, you can even send her a message. And I bet she'd be tickled to respond to that one if you're using citric acid, because she uses vinegar, if I'm not mistaken. Vinegar or lemon juice. The Amish uses vinegar, yeah. I like the idea of lemon. Lemon is more of a European, African idea system. And lemon has a way of brightening the flavor of whatever you're cooking. If you're doing beans or whatever, peas, any of those, it kind of lifts it up. It brightens it up, in my opinion. It's up to you. Yes, it does, she says. Well, see, I got a fan over there. All right. If there's no other questions, we're going to go ahead and take a little bit of a break. Let you guys get up, stretch around, and if you need to come up and look at stuff, feel free to come on up. Do what? Okay. And then we're going to jump into the fermenting, which is my exciting stuff I like to do. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Like I said, it's easy and it's fun. back. Yes, please. Yeah. Welcome back, folks. Thank you for returning. The second portion of this event is going to be covering ferments. Now, again, I'm going to be a little controversy. I'm going to bring some controversy to this. Why? I know. I'm a rebel without a cause. Okay, so why ferment? You know that there's two types of pickles. There's fermented pickles. Have you ever heard of Vlasic pickles? What kind of pickles are those? You like those pickles? They're crispy. They're really good. Guess what? They're fermented. They're not vinegar based. They're fermented. That's why they're crispy. I am opposed to vinegar as a consumable. It's fantastic topical. It's a fantastic cleaner. It has multiple uses. I disagree that you should not put it in. I do not believe you should put it in your system. There are others that believe the same thing. This is vinegar. This is your white vinegar, okay? Now, I'm not trying to upset anybody, but this is what vinegar is, okay? This vinegar is 30% vinegar. You know why it's 30% vinegar? You know what it's used for? Kill weeds. It kills weeds. Okay? This is roughly, I think it's 6% or 8% of regular vinegar is 6%. So really, be honest with you, only 6% of this is vinegar. The rest of it's water. But if vinegar kills plants and your body cannot metabolize, the only thing that can metabolize vinegar in your body is the liver. So when liver gets to that point, what has it done to your system? When this hits your gut biome, what is it doing? It's called a gut biome. It's alive with cultures. When you eat food and you consume food as it goes into your mouth, your saliva is acidic. It starts breaking down with the mechanical motion of the chewing, breaks the food down, and plus your saliva, you actually start to receive nutrients in your mouth. That's like sugar. If you take sugar and you put it in your mouth, your senses automatically tell the brain, hey, we got sugar. And the brain tells them, it launches, hey, we need insulin and this, that, and the other. And that sugar is brought into your system right then and there. There's a difference between complex and simple sugars. Simple sugars enter the bloodstream up around the mouth, and complex does not enter until it's well passed into the small intestine. Anyway, so the acidic travel, or the food travels from the acidic mouth to the acidic stomach. You want to know why you get heartburn? Everybody says one thing, you don't have enough stomach acid, right? You hear this all the time. Drink a cup of coffee, drink some kombucha, right? Yeah. They're right. You're adding acid. But what's the true problem here? Most of the time, you do not have enough acidity to deal with the amount of food or the type of food in which you put into your system. That's why your system's fighting, desperately trying to catch up. So when you do give it that kombucha shot or whatever, yes, there is a benefit there. And I will quickly concede to that. But here's the problem. That vinegar doesn't stop there in the stomach. It doesn't go away in the stomach. The vinegar continues through. And as it leaves the stomach through the sphincter valve there, and into the small intestine, suddenly it's not in an acidic environment anymore. It goes into an alkaline environment, which is full of bacteria and everything else, which breaks your food down to the nutrient level and introduces it into your bloodstream. And you are rushing an acid through there. That's why I'm not a big fan of vinegar, because it starts damaging that gut biome. So, what can we do? You know, in food preservation, there's so many different things you can do. How about a nice thing of that's what I was looking for. Over here. Sorry. A sauerkraut. Traditionally, probably the most famous fermented food is sauerkraut. Although cheese and breads, sourdough bread is also a fermented food. But sauerkraut has, and I'm not sure how they come up with these numbers of trillions of probiotics in it. I'm not sure who sat around and counted that, but nonetheless, unless your sauerkraut is in the freezer section or in the refrigerated section, if it's not in the refrigerated section and you're buying it from the store, you're not getting any probiotics. Or if there is some in there, your stomach's going to destroy most of it before it even gets there. That's how come you want to get the good stuff. And again, ingredients are important. Look at the ingredients, see what it says. You'll be shocked. Say again. Can you get the mic? Thank you, dear.
So it's got to be cold?
Yes, it needs to be cold, because if it's not, that means they cooked it to make it shelf stable. And if they cooked it, they destroyed it. That leads me into my next question. There's two types of pickles, right? One's fermented and one's not. Yeah, please do. These pickles are fermented. These are alive, full of probiotics. They can't see it.
I don't know if I can stop it. I'm not brave enough.
They're there. So we're gonna cut up some of these pickles and pass them around. Anybody have a problem with spicy food? These are spicy dills.
How spicy?
These are not very spicy, but
No, I can't go the jalapeno.
yes, ma'am. That's right. You said several of my things. So we're going to show you some of these, and then here in a little bit, I'm going to actually do a couple different ferments right here in front of you. Show you just how easy it really is. You're going to love this, folks. You're going to have a lot of fun. All right, there's two types of, there's mainly two main ways of fermenting. One is a massage fermenting, and one is a water ferment. The water ferment is basically you're adding a brine to whatever you're wanting to ferment. When I say brine, what exactly is a brine? Saltwater brine. Now, here's where you're going to want to take notes, okay? What is a good saltwater brine? First of all, again, we're going to use sea salt primarily, okay? Or if you find salt that just says salt, okay? 1 tablespoon per cup is your typical brine. And that's brine is sufficient enough to get everything going. What do you think, huh? Is that not good?
That's 1 tablespoon? 1 tablespoon?
1 tablespoon per cup of water. Filtered water, again. Huh? 1 tablespoon of salt per 1 cup of filtered water. Yeah? That took a week. Took a week. Pretty good, huh? I bought these. My cucumbers didn't do very well this year, so yeah. All right, now here we have, seeing how y'all are okay with the spicy food, we're gonna go with dilly beans. Hot dill pickle beans, dilly beans. These are actually quite a, yeah. I like these as well. You want to use fresh ingredients when you can, okay? So the beans are obviously store-bought. It's kind of late in the year for my beans. I got bean plants going, they're just not to the point of making beans.
So
It
the
doesn't matter.
pickles, that was just water, salt, sea salt, and the red pepper flakes?
And dill
And
and
dill.
garlic.
Oh, garlic.
Yes, ma'am. And garlic.
With the garlic, did you put it like whole cloves, or did you cut it or crush it, or what should you do?
I like to crush mine. I'll turn it, I'll strip the skin off of it and blade down, palm it, and that's it. Just crack it open.
Okay.
More exposure, the better.
Yeah. Did you say how long yet, or we're not there yet?
The pickles I left up for on the counter for 7 days.
Okay.
You can taste them after 3 days. You can start tasting it.
So after the 7 days, do you put it in the fridge?
Put it in the fridge.
Okay.
Right. Fermenting is not shelf stable because it has bacteria in it. No, they're fermented on the counter. You're going to put them on the counter. And see some things like, okay, here's my Russian sauerkraut. It's beets and yes, it's going to be, y'all are going to like this. It's supposed to take up to 3 weeks.
It's okay to use that plastic lid?
It's better that you do use the plastic lid.
Okay.
Remember earlier I was telling you got to do some research when you're online buying things? So I bought these and I thought, oh, perfect, I can't wait, and I got them in. I'm dealing with salt water, and here I got exposed metal. Yeah, so it's going to corrode that over time. So it's working for right now, but it won't work very long. So, but I did get these, so I'm going to go get me some plastic lids and find out what the diameter of that is, and I'm going to end up making my own, since I already spent the money, so.
Are you going to do a recipe book?
What's that?
You're going to do a little recipe book of your ratio of all this stuff to what? So we
I'm going to give you a couple recipes. I'm going to give you the recipe for the sauerkraut. The dill pickles. The dill pickles are fantastically easy. I'm going to demonstrate how to do it up here. Sure. Well, it's not really hard. It's just super easy.
Hi. The beans, was that the same recipe as the pickles?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Did you enjoy it?
I love it.
Yeah.
And I can grow green beans here like nobody's business.
Now, how about this? Fermented mushrooms. Now, I have to admit, there's 2 of them, okay? See how this one's all kind of, yeah. Real quick, the fermented onion provides you 4 unique bacteria that no other food will do. Onion. It's fantastic. Go ahead.
Just to go back, the pickles, is there a particular pickle that, cucumber that you use? If you're not growing it, if you're in the store, the little ones. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I like the little, it gives more of a, and I have done these in slices and wedges. While yes, you do maintain some crispness, it's not the same as the whole pickle.
If someone really wants to cut them and they want to have as much crispness as possible, would they cut them thicker? Would that help it to be more crispy, or does it not really make a difference?
That's something I would suggest that you play with if you're interested in doing that. That's the beauty of this. I mean, you can have fun. You can really enjoy yourselves, like right here, ginger carrot. Yeah, these are and we'll be passing some of these around as well. Ginger carrot is fantastic. And what's funny is I've made these 2 or 3 months ago. These are going to be good for 6 months in your refrigerator. About 6 months, yeah. And see, again, here we are. Your garden is done very well for yourselves. What's a way that you can, I mean, let's face it, when your cucumbers start coming in, they come in. You know, I saw this one that was really fantastic. This lady did a stuffed pepper sauerkraut, Italian sauerkraut. I cannot wait to try to do that myself. And she took basically sauerkraut and she stuffed them into peppers and then put it into a ferment, and the peppers ferment really fast. So it's not a really hard ferment on the sauerkraut, but I mean, she used hot peppers, she used sweet peppers, and I have to admit, it was quite pretty to look at. It was a very, very bright and colorful.
Monty, on the onions, you said it has 4 unique what?
Bacteria. And I had that list of bacteria, but yes, here we go. I do have it.
Can you share the recipe for the onions too, please? Can you share that recipe for the onions?
Sure. Okay. I'm going to get my wife to write these up on the board. Yes, okay. Now, my penmanship is not all that fantastic. Okay. You're going to go ahead and take a picture of this whole, disregard the...
5-year-old artwork.
That's going to be worth some money someday, so we're not going to share that. You're welcome. Did you get the whole thing? Because that top section is the recipe for the Russian. This is art. That's art. This is the top section here is for the beet cabbage Russian style. And then this is the 4 bacteria that are only in the onion ferment. And you can make it at any kind of, you can go red onion, green onion, yellow, white.
Doesn't matter.
Do what? She trying to sell my,
Doesn't matter which onion is better.
it's personal preference. That's the flexibility. Do you want to pick?
I want to take it here. I'm trying to get this thing.
Put it on a veggie dog. You can put it on a side. You can treat it as a side. Cook with it. A lot of people cook with it. If you cook with it, though, it will destroy the bacteria. So. Can you? Sorry.
So is everything 3 to 5 days?
No, it's not. But 3 to 5 days is when you start checking.
How do you know when it's ready to be put in the fridge?
Well, again, that's a personal preference. Is it because it's to your personal taste. So if you want something very sour, very dilly, and everything else, you're going to let it ride a lot longer before you. As soon as you put it in the refrigerator, the temperature, the cold temperature, reduces the bacteria process, reduces the bacteria, the process dramatically. It will continue, but it's very, 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 very slow. Add ginger, garlic, dill, and carrot. Y'all want to try this?
Tell them everything that's in it.
Okay, this has beets and cabbage and salt and caraway seed. If you look on the picture that you just took, is the recipe. Now this is where people have a lot of trouble with their, yeah, please. She's going to get you a spoon, baby.
Can go like this.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Bless you. So, okay, now this one here, when you're dealing with sauerkraut, it's a formula. And the formula I gave you, each and every one of you have gotten that. Now let's go over that formula real quick as we're waiting for a spoon to be, I put my tablet, there it is. Okay, it's all based on the amount of cabbage which you have, okay? So, and this is where you have to have a scale. I was gonna do a demonstration of this one, but I forgot my scale, so I cannot do it. So say, let's start off, and you want to do it in grams, because grams is going to be the easiest way for you to do. So if you have a kitchen scale, get your bowl, and you're going to want to shred your lettuce very fine, okay? In fact, I use a mandolin on mine, okay? You're going to quarter it, and you're going to destem it, okay? Like that? Well, normally this would sit on the counter for about 21 days. This one is only 10 days. Yeah. You should, yes. It depends. If you want it more tangy, let it sit on the food. Now, okay, well, let me finish with the recipe. What's that? The pickles were 7 days. I only did them for 7 days because they have that spice in there. I didn't want them to get too potent. Now at my house, they're going to sit for a while. I'm going to sit for a couple weeks at least. It's just, we like hot food. So I cook with a lot of hot food. I truly hope that the lady I made this for is not here. And if she's watching, I'm disappointed. All right, so you get, let's say we're going to deal with 1,000 grams, 1,000, grams, or is it milligrams? No,
Did you
no.
use red cabbage, or is it just a regular?
What's that?
Did you use a red cabbage, or me? Hello.
Green cabbage.
It's green cabbage.
Oh, green cabbage. Okay.
Yeah, I know, the beets kind of dominated the color, didn't they? Okay, so you're taking your cabbage, you weigh your cabbage out in grams, right? And you're going to multiply by 1.3 to determine how much garlic you're going to put in there. 1.3%. Yes. Well, no, you weigh your cabbage. It's your cabbage. I don't know how much you want to make. Mine was around 1,200 grams. And then if you follow this recipe and you do the percentage, you won't have a failure. How often do you hear that kind of guarantee, huh? Yeah. Now you can cube it. You can cube your beets or shred your beets. It's up to you. I cubed it in this one. Next one I'm going to try shredding it. Play with it. It's something that you can easily work. I mean, it's kind of an open book that you write yourself. You want to try something? Well, here, let's give you guys something that I really love.
This one's still got the thing in it.
Yes, I'm going to do that in a minute. Where's the jalapeno?
Right here.
Oh. I know you don't like jalapenos, but it's a little warm. It's a little warm. But, oh, man, with a sandwich, these rock.
Put
Oh,
them on here so I can cut them.
yes, ma'am. See the teenage.
I know, right?
Well, here, give you a demonstration. I love them.
They're crispy too.
What's that?
You took the seeds out, because that's what makes it really hot.
I can, growing up, my grandmother used to send me quarts of these every summer. And they would only last maybe
Okay, so I will. I'll do it. Have one of those, right? Give the jummy.
You want one?
Is the recipe on that thing that we took a picture of?
No, ma'am. Just- honey, they're all half size. And
I don't want the lady to call my name, so I'll take it to my man, you know?
you got to man up, huh?
Man, no, man, no. Thank you, thank you.
I'm not gonna lie, that's good.
What's that? Heck yeah, for my Marine brother. Jalapeno? You want the, yes, ma'am. Isn't it? It's fantastic as a, now think of this. With the pickles and all this other stuff, this food is actually healthy for you. You get that urge for a spice or for a salty crunch. Oh, potato chips are right there, right? Grab a pickle instead. It's healthier for you. You're helping your gut biome. Now, I'm a big fan of preventative maintenance on the human body, okay? Now, again, I need to put this caveat because now I stepped into this arena. As an herbalist, I am not a doctor. I am, no way do I claim to be a doctor. I just believe in proper support gives my body the opportunity to heal itself. And I'm a firm believer in that. Whether you are or not does not change the truth of the matter that this food is good for you. You buy a jar off the shelf at Kroger or H-E-B of pickles, you're buying dead food. I know it sounds disgusting to put it that way. There's nothing alive in it. It's cooked under high pressure. It is treated with chemicals. You don't know everything that's involved with it. And now there's issues with the canning process because now they're starting to do a plastic coating on the inside of cans so that you have a longer shelf life. Again, there's something else we've got to be concerned with.
What about Clausen? Those are in the refrigerator?
Yeah, they're better, but you know, hey, they have to watch their shelf life as well. Floss, God, am I saying that right? Yes, you're doing it. Floss's, yeah, Floss. It's a brand, name brand. Oh, okay. All right. My jalapeno recipe. I hate to do this, but I'll share it with you. Be exact, huh? It has 3 cloves of garlic, a nice twist of fresh dill. I cut and strain. This is the dill. I've got a little place that it's a little Middle Eastern shop down off 1960. They have this. They have daikon root too. A nice twist, like for a quart-size jar. I put about this much down in the bottom, along with 2 cloves of garlic. Okay. I did say 3. I load my jalapenos. I put the rest of my dill on top, and another clove of garlic. Yes, and you want to pack them in. Tighter the pack, the better off you're going to be. That's in the brine water. Yes, one tablespoon per cup of water, pure filtered water. That is your brine, okay? Room temperature. I don't have any growing dill at the moment, so I had to. Yes, that'd even be better.
Hi.
Well, I'm setting up an aquaponic system, so hopefully I'm going to have some dill pretty soon. Okay, yes, ma'am.
You said a tablespoon per cup of water, like the recipe right at the beginning, right? That's the standard for all of it.
That's the standard, unless you're doing, because, okay, the mushrooms are a perfect example. You've got, this is with brine water, okay? See how watery it is? I tasted it. I wasn't a big fan. Didn't care for it. This is massaged. Yes. No water in it at all. The water comes from the mushroom itself. Yeah, like sauerkraut. And you massage it. It's a process, but oh my goodness, is it worth it? This one, I roughly a half a tablespoon is what I used on this. And the jar was stuffed full of mushrooms, and it shrunk it down this much. I guess y'all want to try that, huh? Okay. Anyways, so continuing on, as I was saying, there's 2 different types. This is the brined one, where I actually use water in there and stuff. Okay, I knew one of you were going to pop up with this. You're worried about your salt content. Why? Doctor told you? You think it is part of your high blood pressure? Okay. Oh, this is salted food. You're not going to be able to get away with that on ferments. No. No, it's not. I use sea salt, so there's a fair amount of magnesium in there. Right. Bela. Baby. Isn't that good? Isn't that a nice little snack on the side, you know? Mushroom and salt, that's all that is. And you massage the mushroom. You could try. You pick them up and you squeeze them like you're trying to get.
Can you demonstrate how you massage the mushrooms?
Okay. I'll come to each table and do this real quick. Anyways, what I do is I'll take as they're, and you can see. There you go, dear. Anyways, you put your salt on it, and you press it. You don't want to pinch it in half like I just did that one. But you just keep pinching it, and then you let it sit for a while, and you come back and you keep doing it. And then after you got a nice amount of liquid over the top, you're going to take a cabbage leaf, and you're going to put it on top to push everything down below that water. And then after, yeah, the cabbage leaf or grape leaf. I didn't have any grape leaves. And then you're going to push that down there, and you're going to put your weight on top of it. And you're going to, this only takes 3 days on the counter. Yeah, mushrooms only take 3 days because their structure on it. Did you have a question, dear?
Yeah, what do you think about the Himalayan salt?
That's fine. Oh yeah, that's perfectly fine.
How often do you massage it?
You massage it until you've got enough liquid to cover it. Then you're going to use that leaf as a blanket, and you're going to submerge the whole thing, and then you're going to put the weight on top of it. And like I said, it takes a bit, but in my opinion, and I think many of you agree, it's worth it. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to do a demo. Yes, I did. Yes. I'm going to show you the difference now between the taste of those two, okay? This is, can you grab me a fresh?
Yes, some people use rocks. He won't use rocks. He'll tell you why.
Okay. All right. You may not be so happy with this one. Okay, there we go. All right. Now this one here that's coming around, this is brined, okay? Not the same. And you're going to see the big difference in the two. Nowhere near as pleasing, is it? Yeah. It's a ferment. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't care for it at all. Some people do. This is a personal taste. This is a personal taste issue. I know. It's just as soon as I can, I'm going to dump that one. But, yeah. The other one's more raw, more real. Right. Yeah. Didn't care for it either. Didn't. Oh, you need to change the flavor. Okay. Here is some dilly beans without the heat. Okay. It doesn't always have to be about the heat. I know. I said that. How about that? Cut them in half? Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Mine only set for a week. And yeah, I had to chase my daughter off of them.
So did you say that all of these you cover with a cabbage leaf?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you put a weight on it?
I will, yes, I'll demonstrate that here in a little bit after we get done.
And if we don't have a weight, will you be able to tell us what we can use instead of a weight?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I certainly can. I did some research. Yeah, they have no heat. I don't know why I cut those up.
Every one of them has a crunch. Oh, careful, almost in the lap.
The world of ferments can be very exciting. Okay, and it goes with this. Too many open jars here.
When you massage those mushrooms, how many times a day do you need to do that?
Oh, right here. And I need this.
Right. You massage it and you let it sit. Massage it some more and let it sit. Just like when I'm going to demonstrate with the cabbage, you massage it for a time. You're going to let it sit and you're going to massage it a little bit more, but it's going to sit out for nearly 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours, before you start packing it into your jar. And when I say pack in, I mean pack it in. You're going to drive it down, okay? I use this. Yes, it's got a hole in it, I know. Hole in my plan, but you want to drive it down and pack it in nice and tight. The tighter it is, the better the ferment it's going to take. Yeah, for deal, we're dealing, remember there's a trillion of them? They can't be very big if there's a trillion of them. Okay, so let's see. I think we have pretty much covered on those, on the mushrooms. All right, now, help me clear this off with you. What's that? Oh, did she's been telling me what to do all evening long, and that's the first.
Which one are you keeping this one?
I'm keeping that one. Yes, ma'am. The one with the lid. Oh, I'm sorry. There it is. Okay. All right. Now. Okay, now on this one here, this is a cabbage one that I brought a couple weeks ago. This is the brine that's still there. So, what we're going to do is we're going to make some more. Cauliflower, sorry. Did I say cabbage? Sided with her.
Sorry.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take fresh cabbage.
I know, so many questions. So when you said that that was the brine before, we can reuse the brine?
Yes.
Like how many times? As much as you want, until you need to top it up. Wow. Okay, as much as I feel.
Yes, you can use your brine as long as it's good. I mean, if you keep it refrigerated, if you keep it when you're done with it, dang, boy, I'm just flinging stuff everywhere. Your brine can last for months, 6 months at least. So if it's over 6 months, I would consider changing it out. But you got to remember, generally, I would have enough cauliflower to fill my jar back up. May not be enough brine in there, so I'll have to add brine. Now, there's going to be a question I'm surprised has not popped up. When is it safe to eat? You would think that that would be a good question, yes? When your acidic level is 4.5. Good question. Glad you asked that. I was waiting for that. You can get this on Amazon. This one, I think, was $11. And it tests your pH. It's really simple, easy to use. You turn it on, and you just stick it in, and it tells you. You want it 4.5 or below.
Below.
Yes. Don't eat it. Leave it out on the counter until it gets past 4.5. Okay, that's how you can test if you want a clinical way of testing everything. Okay, say, let's check it. 3.62. Oh, I'm sorry, 3.53. Oh, that's excellent. Rinse it off when you're done. I don't have that option at the moment. What are you passing around now?
The paper for that. They could take a picture. We're picture people.
Huh?
Probably 15 pictures for my phone every Saturday. I'm like, yep, yeah, don't need it.
So Monty, hi. So after we know that the acid is good,
Yes, ma'am.
so, and it's good to eat,
Yes,
how
ma'am.
long does it last? The whole,
Some people, there's a gentleman, who is that, Cindy? Who was that? He had a, $8. There you go. $8 for my at Amazon. There was a gentleman who found a jar of sauerkraut, and I want to say it was 8 years old. Well, you know who I'm talking about, right? That lady I cannot stand that you watch. She whines all the time. There you go. Anyways, he tried some that was over 8 years old. I think it was 8 years, wasn't it? 8 years, and he ate the whole big old bowl of it. Now, he's still around, so I guess it didn't wipe him out. That's horrible. Huh?
Hey, Monty, could you add those cauliflower, like the leaves, those stalky bits? Would that be nice in there?
Do you eat that part?
I mean, I cook it sometimes.
Then, sure.
It's yummy. Yeah. Yeah.
Those people on the other side of the pond.
I know.
I don't know. Don't know. I guess so. Anything that you're willing to go for. Now, after you get this done, now you got to think, I'm adding fresh bacteria. There's bacteria on the vegetable itself, okay? I'm adding it back into a culture that's already been through, but it's a good, strong culture. So it's at 3.62. So it's actually quite strong. And it'll handle it. But I got to give it time, just like I would anything else. So after I get it plugged up, what do you think I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to get it all under that water, right? All underneath that brine. Please. We're going to press it all down in there. And when that brine is, yeah, we ate, well, and I finished it off. Why is it red? Because it had red onion in it, and it also had purple cauliflower. So now this is one of our weights, okay? This is one of the weights I can use. Now, you can use rocks. I'm not a big fan of rock because of my herbalism. I don't mess. There's minerals and stuff in rocks that you can have problems with. But what we do is you see that stem? You want to try to keep that stem. That stem's very rigid, okay? And it's going to help you push everything down. But you want to bow it so it's opposite, okay? You're going to pack it in. You're going to force it. Now this just ain't going to. You want to get it all the way up to the side. You want everything underneath the brine. Well, everything that you're wanting to eat underneath the brine. If something mold or something grows on the cabbage leaf, it's on the cabbage leaf. You're going to throw it away, right? Now you were asking, can you use anything else? If you take one of your little jars, as long as you use a plastic lid, you can put that right over the top. Oh, yeah, you can take the lid off, but it fit the last time. But anyways. Take the lid off and push it right down in there. Okay? And then put your lid back on loosely. It's got to breathe. And then you put it on your ferment tray because it will bubble and get all over the place.
So could you use the plastic cover instead, or it doesn't matter which?
I've seen people, I don't know why that didn't fit, but you could probably, if you didn't want to spend the money and you had some extra, you could put a rock inside there and then put a lid on it.
She means the lid.
What about it?
She wants her to use plastic instead of the.
Yes, definitely. But ball lids, if you're using lids that are coated, then you're good. You're good right there and there. Now, the next natural thing you would probably want to know is what do you do after you're happy with your ferment? You've tested it. It's well within the 4.5 range. It's below it. Here's one that I have not taken out yet. All right. Now, sometimes you're going to find little bitty white things floating along the top. Okay. Now it's unsightly. It's not dangerous. You take a spoon and you spoon it out. I don't have any, which I thought I would, but I didn't. Sometimes particles will get up there and bacteria will grow on that. What it needs is oxygen, and that's why everything you want ferment is underneath. You want to take that around? Yeah, this is the old cabbage leaf. Huh? I did. I didn't get a fig. I got the.
So after you put the lid on and it's going to be loosely,
Right.
do you check on it again? Do you open the lid again? What do you
try
do?
not to open it up as much as possible, because you got to think that as it produces, you may start seeing it here in a moment. Bubbles will start coming up, okay, and that's going to fill that space. That's how come liquid comes out of the top of it, and you want to set it either on a towel or something that will catch the excess. That I will let set for probably a week.
So you don't touch it for a week. You just let
I just
it
make sure.
go
Now, if it starts looking bad, now you got to think it's going to go through a process, and in this process, the colors are going to get muted. You're going to see this about day 3. It's not going to be as bright or as pretty as before, and it's also going to start to cloud up. Don't worry, this is natural. This is the process going. So it keeps going, and after a while, it'll clear up somewhat. Not a lot, but it will clear up. You'll see cloudy spots here and there. That's all part of the process. Let it go, okay? But when you're ready to taste it and it's ready to go, if you're happy with what it tastes like, that's when you take it and put it in the refrigerator. It's the potency, the tangy of it is all up to you. Some people like it strong. Some people don't like it so potent.
Question. She'd like to know if you can do fruit.
That's an excellent question. I don't know. Fermented peaches. Ma'am, yeah, pineapple sounds good too. That does. Yeah.
Maybe that will end up like kombucha.
No kombucha. Bad kombucha. But anyways, I don't know, ma'am. I wish I did have an answer. That seems like a good question. I don't recognize you.
Hi. Luba did it with watermelon.
Ah.
Yes.
Who did?
Luba.
Who's Luba?
Luba.
Oh, yes. She was supposed to be here too.
She did it with watermelon, and it just took like a few days. It tastes nothing like watermelon. It's not sweet, but it's incredible.
Right.
Yes.
I was about to say, I know that they ferment, now that we talk about it, that the fermented watermelon rind is very popular through Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, in that area. I know that that's one of the things that and it's also, if you ferment that with cucumbers and use, you could probably do lemon rind in there as well, you would have an excellent rehydrator. Well, how about this? Okay, some stone fruits, peaches, cherries, and apricots are very suitable for fermentation. So there you go.
It says citrus fruits also work well
well. Lemons, limes, and oranges are among our favorites.
Oh, I bet a grapefruit would be a ruby red fermented fruit. Yeah, no kidding. Excellent question, ma'am. Thank you. I didn't either. That one caught me off guard. Okay, so I showed you what you could do with your brine. Okay, now what can you do with fermented food? Let's cover that real quick. You can cook with it. You can use it as a side. Famous. What's that, dear? Yes, it would. It would destroy the probiotics of it, but it would give you an excellent flavor. It's another culinary twist on anything that you're doing. Like I'm really excited about doing a kimchi here in the near future. I may have to bring it up here for potluck one day. A gallon jug of it. Just okay. But let's face it. Look in New York City; they get hot dogs with sauerkraut across the top. Me growing up, that was excellent to have on a hot dog with sauerkraut. So now we're going to ferment. Thank you, dear. See, I said thank you. Now we're going to. I guess we don't have any filtered water back there, do we? Okay, can I get, let's go with three, no, give me 4, just to be on the safe side. And I'm going to go ahead and make us some. Oh, that's right, maybe we should have asked. Thank you. Well, actually, I guess I don't need that much after all. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a big jar. I didn't want to do that, but I guess we're going to have to. Do what now? Yay. You can, if you want to. That's entirely up to you. Yeah. I should have brought my larger measuring cup. I thought I had a empty quart jar, and I don't have one. Isn't that embarrassing? All right. Did I bring garlic? I am batting 1,000. All right. We got the dill. No, I'm with you on that one. Okay, so we're going to do a little make-believe because I don't have everything I need to have. All right, so we're going to do dill beans, dill pickles. I promised my daughter I'd make her a hotter batch, so you guys are going to see me really get into some herbs here. Okay, first of all, again, handful of dill goes in the. Now imagine at this point in time, because this is a half jar, I'm dropping 3 cloves of crushed garlic in there, okay? Oh, you're talking, those are caraway seeds. Yeah, no, not caraway. Oops. Now you want to kind of try to get it to stack. You know what I mean? You want them in on in. And you're going to need a chopstick to help push them in there. You don't want to break them up because you're trying to keep the whole, But it's a layering process. Man, see, that's what you get for having man hands, Now, this jar was washed just in hot soapy water, okay? Can you get your hand down in there? Of course you can.
That's why I like the wide mouth doctor.
Has anybody had this? Would you like to try some? No? This is just sauerkraut. It's got garlic in it. I got this one at Costco. Let me get a fork. Of course. They do sell it at other places. It's cheaper at Costco. This is really good, and I usually eat this on with avocado toast.
Okay, I'm willing to try it. Okay, that's like a staple.
Yes, ma'am. Pack it in.
I'll have to try it.
Oh, you know Martin on What's Up, Prof? That's where I got the idea to try that. Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. Anybody else want to try this? Ow. Yeah, it's not bad. It's really good for store-bought, but considering this jar costs, what is it, $8? Something like that? $9? Yes, could do it yourself for pennies on the dollar and get a lot more, and you know exactly.
Using that weight measurement thing.
White film, that's that bacteria I'm telling you. Sometimes you'll open and you'll see that that's in there.
What did they said?
A spoon, a paper towel and a spoon.
And kind of go like this on it, it'll pull it all off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're not wasting all your, because that's expensive.
You guys are going to have some happy guts tonight, let me tell you. Okay, yeah, this is,
Like that?
yes, ma'am. Is it packed in there really nice and tight? Fantastic. Okay, so we got our dill in there. Our imaginary garlic is in there. Now,
Garlic in there?
yeah, we'll put some garlic in. And red chili flakes. Now I know I'm not measuring, so yeah, this is the first level.
Her favorite thing. Red pepper flakes, fresh red pepper. Yeah.
And then, just some good wads of them, right? And then we stuff it again.
Oh, I'm gonna need the other bag.
Yes, ma'am.
Layer like lasagna? They're not gonna, oh, I guess they will.
If you need to lay them down, lay them down. Lay the next batch down. I know I could probably have done that myself then, huh?
No.
Just kind of press them down in there really good. What we want to do is get the jar up to right about an inch below that bottom ring, okay? Because you got to get a weight in there to hold everything in place. And you put more dill on top and a little bit more red pepper. And at least, for that size, at least, no more, please. Can you put a fancy dash of, it's my daughter's name is Fancy. Of red pepper on top. And no, just one or two. You want to put like the lion's share down at the bottom and then add up as you go up, add one or two on the way up. I crush mine. A little dip, yeah, not a lot, but some. So the poor cabbage gets abused in this whole process. It really does. Like I say, you can use grape leaves if you like. You don't like grape leaves? In your garden? No? I heard you two had like this, no? Okay. Okay, this is gonna take us a little bit, oh, it's gonna take every bit of it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna fill it all the way.
How much? One?
Yeah, one cup.
The gloves are too big. They have to fit his hand too.
I forgot to tell her to get some gloves and she. And we just keep on going.
We have the great big one.
We had the big one, and
Why he grabbed the little one? I don't know. Because he thought he was grabbing a quart jar.
yeah. So yeah, this is, isn't this tough? This is hard to do, huh? You can do this, fantastic.
Everybody's going to have pickles next.
What's that?
Potluck will be pickles.
Right.
One more.
Yep.
We're going to have a little bit of waste. I can pour it in the other one.
I don't think you understand our daughter nearly as much as I thought you did. There we go. Okay, so the point of what I'm doing here and what I tried to get over to you is that you do you prepare your jars and then remember, all you have to do is hand wash, okay? Make sure though you wash your hands. And if you taste it, by the way, as it's fermenting, say on day 3 you want to taste it and see where you're at. Don't go for a second dip. No double dipping, because you're adding bacteria in there, and you can lose it. Yeah, no fingering. Just a clean fork or spoon and get a little bit and test it. Keep it exposed to the air as very little as you can. A little bit more, keep going, right there. Okay, now, again, I'm going to show you the stuffing technique. You want to wedge it all the way to the sides because you're trying to capture as much as you can underneath that brine, okay? Push it down, get more liquid if you need to. And if you have to use multiple layers, use multiple layers. It's a cabbage. It ain't going to complain. Yeah, if I don't want to get in trouble. She asked me that same question just a moment ago. There we go. Okay, now some of my red pepper flakes have floated to the top. Okay? If I wanted to, I could just leave them in there. I will have to get them out eventually because they're exposed to the air. But I don't have a spoon, and so, yeah, I'll get them out when I get home. Anyways, and so you press everything in down nice and deep in there. Now, they do have other system. Now, this is personal opinion. You may like it. Here's one system, the ball cells. It's a spring-loaded system. It caused way too much damage to my pickles. It did. It bent the end of the pickles. It was just too much of a pressure. Part of that's my fault, though. I loaded the jar. You know, I didn't have to pack it that much.
So this would go in
Yeah.
instead of this. And
Right.
the lid pushes down.
Right. But it's a constant pressure, and I didn't care for the way that worked. Now, I can take one of these at this point in time and run this, and you put a little water in the base, and it's a bell siphon design, if that's familiar to you. Basically, the water will push up to a certain point, then it'll overflow. So there's a cup inside a cup like this, and the water comes up the tube. And it basically prevents oxygen from going back down. In order for that to be a major benefit here, though, I need my water level all the way up here at the top. okay? And it will make a mess. So you're definitely going to want to put it on a platter or like a sheet like I've got, or at least a towel to soak it up. And that you will have to keep up with, you know, otherwise you're going to have fruit flies before you know what hits you, okay? Like I said, this one I'm okay with. Particularly, it's probably best for sauerkraut. Okay, so that is what I would use that for. Everything else, I'm pretty much sticking with just my jars or my weights. And again, then you want to put where's our lid? We lost a lid.
Under your wrapper.
Oh, here we go. No, that's the lid to the sauerkraut. Anyways, I'm using just a regular ball lid. See, it's nice and loose, okay? You want it because it's going to build up pressure. Now, some people will teach you, go ahead and lightly put a tension on there, and then once a day come by and go. Okay, that'll also, but you know, that's a maintenance issue. I have a hard time watering my plants, you know, so remembering to do this every day might be a bit much for me at this point in time. Okay, so there you go. That's what it takes to do a whole jar. And in 10 days, imagine you can sit down in front of the TV and just enjoy. And you can eat this on the side with anything you want. I hope this shows you a lot of possibilities for you. You know, how many things you can. You know, you can ferment okra. Do yourself a favor. Leave it whole. It gets very, very slimy. Just a heads up. You could do zucchini. I saw one lady, she did a Italian ferment. So she didn't have mint, but she had basil and other stuff in there, and that looked really good. So again, a lot of my influence, that lady that I've learned most of my ferment is from Clean Living. Clean Food Living, that's it, Clean Food Living. She's kind of a mousy little lady, and she's a little on the annoying side, but she is good. She knows her ferment, and she is very good at it. Now, that recipe that I gave you on the Russian sauerkraut is not hers. That's somebody else's. That was two guys. They put the recipe up online. So I hope you folks really delve in this. Oh, quick. Let's go over some rules. You get a jar, and it's, say, day 7. Yes, I'm hurrying up. Day 7. And you're like, okay, I'm going to check it one more time. That does not look good. Okay, that's first warning. Doesn't look good. Especially after you've been fermenting for a while, and then you start seeing something that doesn't look good, that's obvious signs for concern. Number 2, open it up. You should smell either a sweet or a salty brine smell. You open it up and you're like, ugh. Okay, all right. That's strike 2. And in the ferment world, that's out, okay? Count your losses, just toss it. Start again. Something went wrong, wherever it went wrong. And it happens. It does happen. I had a jar of pickles that didn't take. It happens. Oh, well, it's just cucumbers. So move along, okay? Other than that, do you folks have any questions for me? Oh, you folks have been great. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. Well, folks, if you, I am considering, like I said, in the future of doing a more hands-on training. We will actually do some canning in the kitchen. I'm afraid that we are not able to live stream to you folks at home. But that will be a limited number deal, and we'll see if we can get that going. I will have to talk to the head of our health ministry on this. If it is, it would be a paid event, but you get to take something home, you know, and that's where life is good, right? And in that canning course, we will also do a ferment. So, because 90 minutes, 90 minutes of waiting for that thing to finish cooking, we could be doing a ferment, yes?
Will it be like a water bath type one?
No, it will be a pressure can.
Oh, okay.
Water bath is, back onto the canning, water bath is kind of a no-brainer. As long as you keep that water over the top. Huh? Water bath? Simply submerge the bottle, you put your cans in there, and you cover it with water, where the water is over the top of the cans by 2 to 3 inches. And you bring it to a rolling boil. Once it reaches a rolling boil, when it's actually getting going, that's when your time starts. So if you're doing quarts, you're waiting 30 minutes, 90 on beans. You've done your beans and you added a squeeze of lemon juice in there, or your citric acid or your vinegar if you are okay with that. Get your water up to a strong rolling boil. That's when your time starts. You keep it boiling. Yes, you do. So you need a teapot or another kettle or something on the side producing boiling water for you. And you can see when you're starting to get low, and you got to watch it a little bit, but it's nowhere as intensive as the pressure canner. Honestly, folks, you need to learn both and also understand that, yes, while canning dry is ideal for long-time storage, if you suddenly don't have the ability to cook something, say you don't have water, you don't have access to water, what are you going to do? You can't do nothing with dry beans without water. No matter how much you will it, you're not going to be able to get anything edible out of it. So preparing some canned food that you can take right off the shelf and eat it straight out of the jar would be a godsend in some situations. Yes?
When you do the water bath, does it have to be in one of those pots, or can it be in any kind of pot?
You could do it in a tamale pot. You know what a tamale pot is? Mm-hmm. The only stock pot, you can do it in any pot. In fact, Make It Make had one made, she bought one from an Amish store, and like I said, it was a great big old thing, and it would hold like 21 quarts. It was just a beast, and she set it on like a crawfish boiling stand and used propane, and that's how she did hers. She's really interesting. If you subscribe to YouTube, or even if you don't, if you have access to YouTube, really look her up. She's got some excellent ideas, and she does some really good work. Yes, dear. Oh, you're embarrassing. Yeah, she mentioned that she had an orange one. And she's given it to you. Oh yeah, was it a pressure cook? Ken? Was it Vesco? What one? A Presto. Okay, Presto. Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah, there's a couple big ones out there that, like I said, All-American and stuff. Do some research, find something. They are a lot of money. So, really pay attention to the water bath. It might be a salvation, save you some money. Yes, dear.
So now that you were talking about tamales, can we actually can the tamales too? Like, so instead of freezing them, can we put them like in the cans and preserve them like that?
Depends, are you going to share?
Maybe. If I can put them in the can.
I have a weak spot for tamales, and I really do. Maybe if you did a bake style.
So cook them and then bake them.
Right.
And
then the bread is fantastic and the bake style is fantastic, but your shelf life is not anywhere near regular canning. Please keep that in mind. Your shelf life might make it 6 months. Okay? So if you do a lot of canning, tamales and stuff, and you do it in the baking oven style, try not to go past 6 months on the, or if you're getting close to that 6 month period, really be scrutiny, you know, watch it very well.
I don't think they'll last 6 months, but, but it's better
Wow.
than freezing them, because freezing them, it gives it a different flavor,
Yeah, it
after you
does.
cook 'em
I know,
again.
I know.
So-
I agree with you 100%.
The green beans, they say to, before freezing green beans, to parboil them, and they got a time set, and I went way less than the time that they said. I froze them, and they were just like out of the garden. They were very good. And I don't know if I heard something, but I have canned on a glass top stove too.
Have you really? Okay.
Yes,
I
have
don't, I wasn't sure, and I didn't want her to come back and go
And it survived.
and be chastised. I do, and trust me, she's fond of doing that. Yes, they do they not? Yeah, they do. She just mentioned another homesteader that actually has a glass top stove, and she cans on it. So there we go. I think you got to be careful. You don't want to have water in between the pot and the stovetop. Yeah, not even a little bit. You want to keep it nice and dry and clean, because if moisture gets in there, it is going to cause it to jump up and down, which I'm pretty sure. Is this a test?
No, it's just that when I cook, sometimes water gets underneath it and it sounds like popping.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wanted to say too that if you like corn on the cob, my mother found out from a lady that she went to the senior center with that she always took it right from the farm, cut the ends off on both ends, put them in plastic wrap, stuck them inside a plastic bag, and froze them. She said when she took them out, she would take them out of the wrappings and stick them in there with the husk in her microwave. And she would microwave them for about 3 minutes on each side, and she said it was just like you were eating fresh corn.
Wow. I know that barbecuing, I would take corn, and I would leave it in the husk, and I would soak it in salt water for a few, for 20 minutes or so, and then put it directly on the fire in the husk and let the husk get blackened and brown and stuff, and you pop it over. My son almost ate his weight in that one night. That's a good, when you have that kind of moment, that's, you did right. You did good. Real quick on the canning thing, you folks made me realize I didn't say something or didn't cover something, and I wanted to make sure that you do understand this. If you're doing a root vegetable, particularly root vegetables, you want to blanch your vegetables, okay? So if you're cubing up, say, golden potatoes, and you peel them up and everything else, put them in the stove, boil them for just a little bit. You'll see when that froth comes up on top, boom, you're good. Drain it, wash it really good, and add that back in. So then when you can them, it has a lot less starch, and and then you can take them straight from there, heat them up, and make mashed potatoes, roast potatoes, add them to soups. That's one of her things. She'll grab carrots and potatoes and add them straight to the soup. Do the same with turnips and all sorts of stuff. So you can do pickled turnips, yes, ma'am. Yes, you can do. I've seen people do on the ferments. They do like a vegetable medley, a California medley. So you get your cauliflower, carrots, and broccoli, and you pack that all in there and do it. Works fantastic. The only thing is you got to remember your ferment time is going to be based on your fastest vegetable. So your bell pepper is going to brine probably within 3 days. It'll brine quickly. So that means the rest of it's not going to have that super, unbrined or unfermented, but it'll still taste good. It just won't have as much bacteria in it. You can, but it's going to start coming apart. It gets almost to the point where it's undesirable. So you got to be careful on that one. Ladies, anything? And sir, anything? Sorry. Anything else I could do for you tonight? No, thank you. I'm so happy y'all bared the weather coming out here. Thank you. And look at that, 20 minutes before. Hey, we got a mess.